With that, I'm Seth Demsey. I'm a development lead on the .NET Compact Framework team. I've been working on mobile devices and device runtimes for about 4 years now. And today I'm going to be talking about basically the state of the world in device development. Where are we today? What do we have with Visual Studio .NET 2003? And where are we going with Visual Studio 2005 and the next generation Windows mobile platform, the new smartphone and Pocket PC devices that are going to be coming out as well. So my first point is that the tools to build applications for smart devices are available today. Visual Studio .NET 2003 shipped out of the box with support for developing for Windows CE and Smartphone 2002 devices. With the add-on of the Smart Devices 2003 SDK, which is a freely available download from MSDN, we also add the ability to target Pocket PC and Smartphone 2003 devices from within Visual Studio. So I guess one of the cooler things are that we actually have full fidelity device emulators in Visual Studio, which means that you don't even need to have a phone to begin developing for smart devices. So you could go home right now, download the SDK from MSDN, create a new smart device project in C#, and hit F5 and deploy, and it'll bring up an emulator for you, and you can start doing device development right now. So that's where we are today, and I'll be talking a little bit more about some of the functionality that we have today. Where are we going? Well, the more important question is how are we going there? And really what we've been using to guide the product's path and the product's evolution over time is customer feedback. We have been listening very hard to our MVPs and our regional directors and our customers and reading the news groups and talking to people at conferences about device development and what they really want in terms of developer productivity, features, size. And we continue to make the difficult trade-offs between functionality and size that we've always had to make, because your phone just has a lot less memory than your desktop. So we need to make some hard cuts, but at the same time we need to make sure that we're bringing the right richness to the platform so that you're able to build smart device applications that are useful in a reasonable amount of time, leveraging the knowledge that you already have about the .NET platform from the desktop and from the server side. So can I get a show of hands? Who has developed for Compact Framework devices already? Oh, so I don't really even need to go through this selling you on developing for devices. Everyone's already doing it, right? Excellent. So we've been listening to you, and hopefully we've listened to most of you whose hands were up. If not, feel free to post on the news groups. We are on those day in, day out. Our MVPs are on those. And we take that feedback, and it seriously has guided the feature set of Compact Framework version 2. So what are we going to do in Compact Framework version 2? We're going to add a whole bunch of awesome features, and I'm going to go drill into all these things basically for the whole rest of the talk. But today, Service Pack 2 of the Compact Framework is out. It's on MSDN, and there are some awesome, awesome performance gains. We have about 20% faster data, 40% faster XML. I believe it's 400 or 600% faster handling of resources, taking them out of your files. So go ahead and grab SP2 today if you're deploying device applications. We added colors on controls. This was a huge customer request that we listened to. Why can't I set the background color on my text box? Well, you can in SP2. Why don't the keyboard events work in my controls? The keyboard events work in SP2. We also added support for some of the Windows Mobile 2003 second edition devices. That includes the devices that move from landscape to portrait mode on the fly. Additionally, there's support for square devices with square screens and high-resolution VGA displays. And these devices are already in the market today. There's a Toshiba device that you can see down on the show floor in the Windows Mobile booth that it's same size screen as this, but it's an ultra-high DPI 640 by 480 screen on a device. It's actually quite exciting in terms of what we're going to be able to do with those high-res screens. So we have a very active developer community. We have the 4th most active news group out of all the .NET news groups. And we have a fantastic community. The community has built on top of and around and sometimes through Compact Framework to help provide functionality that we didn't get to in the first version. So opennetcf.org basically the home of all of your, if you have any questions about the Compact Framework, if you're looking for a class to do something that we didn't provide, you should probably check there first. They have this thing called the Smart Device Framework version 1.1 that was recently released. And it's a set of add-ins to Visual Studio that gives you a whole bunch of additional UI controls and class libraries to handle all sorts of cool things in the Compact Framework that we didn't get to in the first version. .NET DN, Pocket PC DN, a whole bunch of other awesome community sites are around and have great code. Codeproject.com has a NetCF section with a whole bunch of cool samples. And the Mobility Home, the Mobility Development Center on MSDN has an awesome just load of samples and a FAQ that's like probably 70 pages long. It's fantastic. So there's a wealth of information about Compact Framework today out there. We've been getting some great pickup in the third-party control and library space as well. We've been working with Component One and /N and Install Shield and a whole bunch of folks to create a really rich aftermarket for controls. So if you need a graph, you can go buy a graph control just like you would expect to on the desktop and not have to write that. A whole bunch of advanced grids are available, networking components, installer components. Odyssey Software stepped in and filled a gap that the Compact Framework left in that we didn't provide interoperability with native COM objects in the first version. So Odyssey Software has a product called CF-COM that allows you to go straight into COM from within the Compact Framework. Obfuscation of your code is also supported on the Compact Framework. And there's so many more that I don't even know about that are available today. If you know of or have a favorite or write a third-party controller library, I'd love to hear about it. So come talk to me afterwards. So you got a lot invested in 1.0. Everybody put their hands up and said they already developed for devices. In the migration to 2.0, it's pretty important to understand the compatibility story. So here it is. Compact Framework 2.0 is going to be a strict superset of V1. And we're going to allow upward migration of your applications. So what that means is if you take a version 1 Compact Framework application and put it on a version 2 Compact Framework device, it will just run without doing anything. You have the additional ability to side-by-side applications, meaning that you can have both version 1 and version 2 runtimes on the same device. And through the use of an app config file, just like on the desktop, specify what version of the runtime you want your application to run against. So side-by-side and upward compatibility are, basically what you'd expect from desktop applications. This is what's going to happen on the Compact Framework as well. So hopefully no surprises. We made a lot of core performance enhancements in version 2. For folks who have been using non-Pocket PC and smartphone devices, we had a different JIT for processors other than ARM. Can we get a show of hands? Who develops for any processor other than ARM? We have a few folks in here. So what we did was we actually went ahead and we unified our just-in-time compiler architecture to be the same JIT across all processors. While the ARM processor had very good code quality, very fast code in the V1 time frame, non-ARM processors had slightly slower code. This is not the case in V2. Everybody is on par. The new unified JIT for ARM is faster than the old one, and all the other processors are at that level as well. So for all you non-ARM folks, this is just going to be just a huge performance boost for you as soon as you get your hands on it. So, and if you haven't already, at the Compact Framework booth on the show floor, there's the PD5 partner drop of Visual Studio 2005 that contains our newest bits in them. So you can grab those right now and take a look at what it's going to do to your non-ARM performance. Extensibility was an area where we got a lot of feedback from customers in V1. What we provided was the p-invoke mechanism that you're familiar with from the full framework. And that was really it. In terms of the level of marshalling of types and structures, it was quite limited and very difficult to work around. We've listened to the horror stories and seen some of the code and helped people enable scenarios today that they needed to and realized how hard it was and have invested a lot in interoperability. So basically we have full COM interoperability. We have runtime callable wrappers just as you would expect on the full framework. So you can add a reference to a COM library we will use the TLB imp tool, or you can use it by hand if you're not using Visual Studio, to generate a proxy class so you can call your COM object from Compact Framework managed code just like it was managed code. We'll do all the type marshaling and all the goo for you to hook up the COM. It's integrated into the Visual Studio shell. I don't know if it is in the build that's available, but it will become RTM. So it's going to be very easy to talk to COM. Another thing that we did was enhance the type marshaling support for pinvoke. We had a lot of comments that we don't do arrays and we don't do strings and embedded arrays, and we don't allow you to use the marshal as attribute to hint to our marshaller how you want something to go down to native code. All of this is available and supported in Compact Framework v2, so it should make your interoperability life a lot easier. In WinForms, we had a lot of folks tell us that they really wanted to get the control handles from forms and controls. So that HWin is now available for you. In using that in conjunction with the message window, which is basically your own private WinProc, you're going to be able to do a lot more deep interaction with the Win32 graphics system than you could in v1. Now, language support. In version 1 of the Compact Framework, we supported C# and Visual Basic.NET as the two languages to target the Compact Framework. And nothing has changed. We still have full support for Visual Basic.NET and C#. But these languages have added a whole bunch of cool new features in the Compact Framework v2 and Visual Studio 2005 timeframe. Among them, generics, anonymous methods, iterators, and partial types. So let's drill into this just a little bit. For those who aren't familiar with generics, what generics are classes and methods that work uniformly on types with different types. So basically, you can build generic implementations of classes that you can strongly type at design time and basically work with in a strongly typed manner. So it's great, rather than sticking strings in an array list and casting them when you're pulling them back out, you can actually strongly type it to be a string list at runtime and be able to identify any errors that you may have at design time rather than at runtime. So rather than getting an invalid cast exception, you'll actually be able to get the problem, in the compiler. So it makes error detection easier and earlier. It also permits a lot of code reuse, which is just great. If you build generic classes, it allows you to be really good about how you reuse them across your projects. Anonymous methods are pretty cool. We actually demoed this yesterday on stage in our general session on mobility. And basically what it allows you to do is create a delegate just in line, like in the bottom, without having to create a method body. So if you know you're not going to reuse it or call that delegate from multiple places, you can actually now create it in line with when you hook up the event handler, rather than having to create a method and go ahead and match the signature and call it. So good productivity feature. Partial types is super cool. How many folks have either accidentally or on purpose opened up the designer-generated code inside of your form and tweaked something and had the designer not work again afterwards? Anybody? Excellent. So what partial types allow us to do is split up a class across multiple files, so that designer-generated code is no longer in your CS file. It's no longer in that CS file that you see when you're creating your form. It's in another one somewhere else. So you don't have to worry about opening up and modifying designer-generated code by accident and having things break. It's also a great way to allow you to separate your own code for maintenance reasons. So as you can see, you can define classes in multiple files, and it just works. WinForms. WinForms is our UI model for the Compact Framework. And we added a whole bunch of new controls in CFv2. You can see the list up there. The #1 control that we added was the date time picker. Does anyone use date time picking in their applications? Was anyone surprised that we omitted it from the v1 product? No one was surprised that we omitted it. It was a horrible oversight on our part, but we fixed it. So a whole bunch of really rich controls: web browser, data container, help, rich ink, and user control support, which was absent in the first version. This allows full custom control integration in the designer. So you can now build your own custom controls and have them show up in the toolbox just like you would in a full framework project. You can create control libraries right in Visual Studio that you could not do this easily in the first version of the product. A whole bunch of additional forms features were done to support devices with new input models. So devices now have keyboards on them. So we've given key preview and richer tabbing support. For those who have used the tab add-in that was in Visual Studio, that's gone. You can now just use the regular property designer to do all your tab ordering for moving through controls. We've also added a whole bunch of properties, methods, and events to classes. And this is purely driven by customer feedback. When we forgot to add something like control.doubleclick and you had to go ahead and build it yourself, what we did was we took that feedback and we rolled it into the product. So, more tree view events, after expand, before collapse, things that we didn't have in the product based on feedback are all in there now. Also, the clipboard supported if you want to share data between applications and forms. So, new smartphone features in Compact Framework 2. We're going to support SQL Server CE on smartphone devices. This was not supported. It was purely a Pocket PC play. It now works on smartphone. Also, the data grid, which was not available on smartphones in V1, is available on smartphones. So you get full data grid support and design time support on smartphone. You couldn't switch the IME. It was very difficult to say, I want this text box to input numbers, or I want this text box to input letters from code. People would have to change the input mode themselves. So we now have a programmatic method that you can call to set the input mode on a text box or any input field when it gets focus. So, if you're inputting a phone number, it's, you definitely want it to be numbers. So it just makes it a lot easier for you to do this kind of great input on smartphones. We also restricted the left soft key to not have menu items in Compact Framework, which was the design guideline of the smartphone platform. But we'd received so much feedback that sometimes there are valid reasons to have actually a menu on the left soft key. We've gone ahead and enabled that in version 2 as well. Displays and layout. There are some fantastic new devices, like I alluded to earlier, that have landscape, portrait, and square screen displays. So what we've done is we've gone ahead and added some core features to make this possible in SP2. So what we do is we have the auto scroll property on forms. So if the display size changes and your form is off the screen, we'll add a scroll bar for you. We fire the form resize event when the orientation changes. So if you want to be more intelligent about how you handle the new display, this is where you can hook in and change your layout. We automatically support pixel doubling for high DPI screens, so you don't even need to worry about it. The VGA devices will just work great with Compact Framework SP2. And there are a whole bunch of great white papers on MSDN that talk about developing for display resolution and form factor independent devices. So take a look if you're interested. But it gets way cooler in V2. There's a lot of work involved in making it, an application look great in 2 form factors. What we've done is we've added docking and anchoring to Compact Framework version 2. This allows you to use panels and controls and dock them and anchor them relative to each other so that a display will automatically turn and you can see that it's just going to flow very well without you having to write any code at all. No hooking into the resize event, no memorizing multiple coordinates and having to spit them back out and relay out your form. This is completely automatic. And as I believe Scott's going to show in our demo, this is ultra cool. We have it all working at design time. So you can actually flip the orientation of the form at design time and see how docking and anchoring is going to impact your form and your application. You can see how it's going to look, even if you don't have a device that's capable. Though our emulators can also run in portrait, landscape, and square screen mode in Visual Studio 2005, so you can even check it out there. In terms of drawing, for folks who do custom drawing, custom controls, it was very, very difficult to deal with bitmap data in the first version. You had to go through the pixel properties on the bitmap, which were very slow if you wanted to do pixel-by-pixel manipulation of a bitmap. We've added the lock bits functionality, which gives you a pointer back to the bitmap data of that, so you can party on it directly in an unsafe code block. So image manipulation, if you want to do transforms and rotates and all sorts of cool stuff, you can now do it in a performant way. Image saving was also something that we didn't have. We didn't have bitmap.save. And the most prevalent scenario that I had heard from customers was, I'm capturing a signature. I need to save the signature and throw it in a database or upload it to a web service. And we just didn't have the bitmap saving functionality. Now, there are a couple of hacks that you can use. They're not great. But with Compact Framework v2, you can save in all of the native image formats of the device, PNG, JPEG, TIFF, BMP, and GIF, and save your bitmaps. Whether you're creating something in the drawing application or capturing signatures or doing something else, you can now save. In terms of drawing, you can also use any arbitrary bitmap as a brush pattern if you're drawing lines. And really cool is this log font structure. It's a native thing that allows you to create fonts that are on an angle. So if you're building a mapping program and want to have your font on an angle next to the street, you can now create a font that has crazy orientation, backwards, inverted, flipped, upside down. And we have custom pens with the dashes and the double dashes and the thickness as well. So control invoke. Why do we have control invoke? Why am I talking about this? Well, in this world of disconnected communications and GPRS and slow connections, we're often making our network calls asynchronously. And when you make your network call asynchronously, often when it completes, you want to update your UI. And because WinForms is not free-threaded, because you just can't call into a WinForms object from the non-message pump thread, you need to use the control invoke method to marshal your call across to the UI thread. And this completely works in Compact Framework version 1 today. There's a bunch of white papers on it. If you've ever had an app lock up on you when you're coming back from an asynchronous request, control invoke is likely going to be what you need to fix the problem. So it works today. Use it. It gets so much better in v2 because instead of tying you into just the event handler delegate, you can create your own custom delegates with custom return types and custom parameter lists rather than just being stuck with the one that we supported in v1. We also support asynchronous delegates. And I think that perhaps the coolest thing is we'll actually throw an exception to let you know that you're making a cross-thread GUI call if we detect that you're doing it. So you'll know at runtime why your app is breaking rather than just having the UI lock up. So you can look at that exception, handle it, and know that you're going to have to go back and use control invoke to marshal your call across to the right thread. With that, I'm going to bring Scott Smith up. Scott's the lead program manager of Visual Studio for Devices. He's responsible for all the awesome, cool VS integrated features like commenter op and the rotated portrait and landscape displays that are going to be in VS 2005. And he's going to walk us through some of the cool things that we can do with Visual Studio 2005 and Compact Framework v2.
Okay.
Hey, Scott.
Thanks, Seth. Everybody hear me okay? All right. Well, I'm really glad that Seth could give me the opportunity to come and show you some of the very cool new features that we've been able to integrate from the .NET Compact Framework into Visual Studio 2005. And what I want to do is just take a few minutes and show you two demos, one of which is going to be showing off some of the new controls, and the other one is going to be showing off kind of the data features that we're going to be enabling through Visual Studio. So let's get started. First off, I think I need my laptop.
Do you want to bring up Visual Studio on both screens? All right.
Sure.
I can help with that.
Thanks a lot. Okay. So here we have Visual Studio 2005. No project started. And we're going to start off with building a simple application. The application that we're going to build is a web browser application. And the whole point in this is in building this simple application is to just show off docking and anchoring and as I said, some of the new controls. So let's build a Pocket PC application.
So this web browser control is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Matter of fact, there's some other demos that we can do where we can actually have the web browser show at design time, showing a URL that you want to go to.
So you can actually, in the designer, see
all you have to do is
the IE page?
Just build a user control. And we're not going to do that today, but maybe I can make that work. I actually have a session on Friday where we're going to go through a whole bunch of stuff in Visual Studio. Maybe I can make that work.
Very cool, very cool.
We'll try that. Anyway, I guess I need to keep moving here, though, huh? So we're creating a Pocket PC application. Now, how many of you out there have created device applications with our current version? That was basically the question you asked before, about half or more, right?
Look like almost everybody
yeah,
here.
Quite a few. you'll notice that this looks quite a bit different than our current version of the product. You have actually a designer that looks like the device. We have a skin wrapped around the form that looks like the device. When I use the controls and drag and drop them onto the form, they render like they would on the device. There's even some kind of, I don't know, I think it's kind of fun. If I take the month calendar control and drop it on the form, it renders perfectly, and then, what is that, alpha blending?
Yeah, oh yeah, hey, this is fancy. Ooh, and look at the snap lines. Can we see the snap lines?
Yeah, sure. So just as you have on Windows Forms, let's see, there's a snap line off to the right and up to the top. I can just make stuff fit perfectly.
That's great.
But that's not what I'm doing here. I'm actually going to build this web browser application. Okay, so to build a web browser application, I need two pieces. One of them, I just need an address bar. And then the second thing I need is the web browser control itself. So let's start out with a panel. You've all seen panels before, and maybe you've done this on the desktop, but this is all kind of brand new stuff for devices, and it actually makes it so easy to develop applications. If I take this panel and dock it to the top of the form, then it gives me a container that I can control its location when I want to rotate my application from portrait mode to landscape mode, and we're going to see that in the designer here in just a minute. So let's add a couple controls here. First of all, I need a label. And I'm going to name this address.
All right.
And we're going to dock this to the left. Now this address bar needs a button so that I can tell it where to go. And so we'll add a go button. Throw that into there. And similar thing here, we're going to dock this. Dock to the right. Now button isn't what I want to call it, so let's change go. Sounds okay. Now, I got teased a bunch when I was a kid because my favorite color was gray. And in the last version of the Compact Framework,
gray was not cool.
I would have had to keep my favorite color. But now, as Seth mentioned, we can now use other cool colors. And so now my new favorite color is green.
Excellent.
And finally, the last thing I need is a text box to put the URL that I want to go to. Let's grab a text box, throw it in there. We're going to dock this full. And now we have the beginnings of an address bar. Okay? So simple stuff, I know, but it's actually really powerful, and you'll see that when we start doing the rotation. Just imagine if you would have had to code that all by hand and repositioning your controls. Okay, now we need the web browser control. If I drag and drop this onto the form,
it doesn't look like much.
Doesn't look like much, no. You know what? And actually, if I click off of it, then I'm kind of in real trouble. I don't even know where it is.
Yeah.
Let's just make this a little nicer. We're going to set the back color of the form to a color so we can actually see the web browser control. And now I want to show this one other feature, one other property that I've been mentioning, the anchoring property. If I say, you know, this is the layout I care about, so I'm going to take my web browser and lay it out exactly the way I want it with this kind of cool border. I know you probably wouldn't design your application this way with a border. You'd probably want to maximize screen real estate usage. But for this use, I want a border. And this is all great. But now I want to be able to use this application in a landscape mode as well. Well, let's just see if I can see what that looks like.
Okay.
Okay. So if I click on the form and go to the Format menu, you can see I have the ability to rotate my application. And
well, the address bar looks pretty good.
The address bar looks great. The web browser, though, doesn't look quite so good. So let's fix that. We can actually just fix it right here, put it where we want it, go to the anchoring control, and we get these cool little designers that let us anchor to all sides. And now, if I rotate back, I have to select the form first and rotate left, and there we go.
Oh, way
okay,
cool.
So easy stuff, right? Finally, we need to just do some hookup. If I go to the text box control, let's just put in a default URL.
I always use Google. What are you going to use?
I'm going to use Pocket PC. Does that sound okay?
PocketPC.com. I've never been there.
You haven't?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, this will be an adventure for you then.
Oh, excellent.
Okay, so that sounds like a good place to go. Let's also set that as our default URL on the web browser control, so it'll just go there automatically, kind of like a home page, right? And then the last thing we have to do is write one line of code.
All right.
I'm a program manager, not a developer, so this is going to be a challenge for me.
I don't believe it.
Okay, web browser 1. Okay, I typed 2 characters and a tab. That was just dot URL equals text box. You know, what's really cool about this new IntelliSense in Visual Studio 2005 is it kind of knows where I want to go already. So I typed T. I didn't have to type out all of text box 1 on the first word in my
How does
object.
it know that?
It's just cool. It's just cool. So text box 1 dot text.
It's incredibly cool.
Okay.
All right.
And I got the semicolon in there, and so we should be good.
So this is it. We just built a web browser.
We just built a web browser. So I think I should just be able to build this. Should we see if my coding skills are any good? Okay, build solution. And that should bring up our output menu. So if things go right, build complete, 0 errors, 0 warnings, build succeed. I think I'm okay.
Absolutely.
Now at this point, what I could do, would do, should do is go through the deployment phase of this, but it's going to take more time than I have. So I'm going to do a Julia Childs and switch over to a device that already has this application running on it. And we'll just kind of see what.
And this is the same code. You're not faking us.
No, I wrote this morning.
All right.
And you can see the date on it. Can you see that okay? Okay.
Yeah, we believe you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it was really hard. Okay.
What? That's not.
Well, it's a different name. You know, it's a different.
No, look at the date.
53772. Oh. I actually was alive then. Is that scary? Okay.
I don't know if I was.
Okay. So let's click on that. Dun, dun. Did I click? Is it going to go?
I think you.
I think I missed it. Do I have it? Doing good. This is the bated breath.
Yeah.
Demo.
This is.
Okay.
Maybe we need to reset the
What
device.
did you do to my device? No, it should be good. Oh no. No, I'm actually locked up.
Yeah, it's locked up.
So
Warm boot.
we're just going to warm boot that.
Who's ever had to warm boot their device while developing for the compact framework? A few people.
How many have had to do it in the
The
middle of
rest
the
of you
demo?
are lying.
Yeah, so
Everyone's had to warm boot
This will
their
come up in a
device.
minute. Now the good thing is I'm just going to actually continue on with my demo.
All right.
Why don't we switch over on that screen, and I'm going to go to the next portion of the demo. This will come up in a minute. Interrupt me when it shows
You got
up,
it. I'll
and
play around with
we'll-
this thing and
we'll
see if we can
find
get it to work.
And web browser 1 application will just make it work. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so the next portion of the demo is using data. How many people have programmed with SQL CE 2.0 on devices? Anybody? A couple of people? Okay, we have great designers, don't we, for that? I don't see anybody raising their hand saying, yes, you do. We actually have no current tools for developing against SQL CE 2.0 in the current tool set, Visual Studio, which makes it kind of hard. That means you have to script your databases, you have to script them inside your application, you have to have them built on first use of the application. It's just a lot of work to be able to get a database up and running. And about a year ago, we spent a considerable amount of time talking to customers, finding out exactly what they wanted in terms of the tools that they needed to be able to make their applications work. And we...
Scott, I got to interrupt you for a
Oh,
second.
are we
I think
good?
it's connecting to GPRS.
Oh, I think just dismiss it. I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be all right. Let's hope. It takes a little bit of time to load. So we listened to customers, and what we heard was, give us the tools to build the databases and to utilize those databases in our application, to be able to do it from the desktop and deploy those applications with databases down to the device. And so
It's working.
it's working.
How do you rotate this thing? Can we rotate this?
Let's see.
Or is that living on the edge too
No,
much?
no. I think if I push this button,
Oh, yes.
and then which way do I rotate it so you can see it? That way, I guess.
Everyone see that?
Oh, let's... Yeah.
There we go. No code.
There we go. Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Locked up devices. I'm just... it's an OEM pre-beta demo device, yeah. Okay, so I've been talking a whole bunch. I'm supposed to be demoing, right? So anyway, what I want to show you, I'm going to start a new application. And you can still see over here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start a new project. with Visual Studio. And we're going to look a little bit at the second phase of development of a database application. First of all, let's assume that we already have a database created, and we want to include a connection to that database in our application, then create a data set and use that data set in a project. And I just want to show you some of the designer features that will allow you to easily make, we'll do something interesting. And the one interesting thing I want to show you is a parameterized form. Now, a parameterized form, what that means is taking an application and be able to filter the data that shows up in your application based on a value in a column. And so that's what I'm going to do. Sound
okay? Sounds great.
Okay. Okay. Now we just need another Pocket PC application. We'll just take all the defaults.
Put them back over on your laptop.
Did you find it? Yeah, I think. No, it's 2.
No, we're good.
Okay, good deal. And let's close this so we can see more of the designer. Now, the first thing we need to do is create a connection to a database. And we do this by going to Server Explorer. And at the top left here, there's the Data Connections node. If I right-click on that, I can create a new connection. And this is the same thing you do to create a connection on the desktop. Matter of fact, it thinks you're creating a desktop application. It says, hey, give me a SQL Server database. Well, we actually don't want a SQL Server database at this point. We actually could use one. You can,
okay, using the SQL client?
Using the SQL client. But in this case, we're going to use a SQL Mobile Edition database.
Oh, very
which
cool.
is the successor.
Now available on smartphone.
Now available on smartphone. So there, I just selected the Mobile Edition .NET Framework provider. And now you'll notice that I can choose a platform from which to pull the database. That's, by default, it's my computer. But I could also, if I had a device connected up that had a database on it, I could pull it off of a Pocket PC or a smartphone, and it'll go and it'll grab that data. In this case, I just want to take the data from off my computer, and I can browse to that database. And there's our famous Northwind database. Everyone's coded against Northwind, right? So it's the same thing, now just a little smaller for your device. Click Open. And the last thing we want to do is just make sure everything's going to work for us, test the connection, it succeeds, and we're good.
Beautiful.
Okay. Clicking OK should make a data connection show up underneath the Data Connections node in Server Explorer, and we are halfway there.
Okay.
Okay.
That wasn't very hard.
No. One thing before I'm going to do another segue. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So segueing a little bit, once I have this data connection node, I can actually drill down on this. Well, how many people went to the mobile general session last evening? Anybody? Was anybody there? A couple of you there? So we had Kevin Collins up there doing a similar demo where he drilled down on this a little bit. But since only one of you were there, I can show you this really cool. This is so cool.
This is after Don Bach showed us his comm underwear, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have comm underwear?
I don't.
No, we're not going to go there. So I can drill down on this particular connection. I can look at the tables. If I want to look at the customer table, I can drill down on the column names. I can drill on the index names. I can actually right-click on the customer's node and click Open. And what that does is it brings up the data, this table in an editor. And this is actually an editor. You can actually add rows to this. You can edit rows. If I wanted to bring up another database, I can bring up 2. The cool thing about Visual Studio, this isn't me, this is Visual Studio doing this. But I can put it in a tab group. I can edit 2 databases at once, or 2 tables at once. It's just fun.
So back in V1, I had to do all this in code, right?
You had to
for
script
SQL CE.
it all, quotes.
But now I can use
and everything.
VS and just build my whole database.
It's fun. It's fun.
And look at it and edit things and put data in it. That's
awesome.
great.
Okay, so that was my segue. The next thing I need to do to build this application is create a data set. And it's just like an ADO.NET data set for the desktop. We need to create one for the device. In Visual Studio Would-Be, though, we can do this with something called a data sources window and wizard. It's a new feature in Visual Studio Would-Be. And it just makes it super easy to create these data sets. So let's do that. Let's just close these tables so I don't mess up my data before I use it. That would be bad.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's actually memorized Northwind, so they wouldn't know the difference. But I don't think they'd care either.
Okay. Funderkop? No, I'm trying to remember. Okay, so I need to create this data set. So go to the data menu, add new data source.
All right.
This brings up a wizard. The wizard will just walk me through the steps required to create the initial typed data set. I'm mostly just going to take defaults. But before I get too far down this, I'm going to go against a database. But you'll also be able to go against web services or business objects for compact framework-based applications. This is very, very powerful. We'll select database. Here in the highlighted is the Northwind database that I already created the connection to. So we'll just take next on that. I don't have an application configuration file on a device, so I'll just take the defaults here.
All right.
By the way, there was another bullet down there that said, do you want to save the password? We don't have a password at Northwind, so we're not going to even worry about that. And now my favorite tables, customers and orders. We'll just select those and click Finish. Now, if I wait for the wizard to finish it.
To finish, right.
Please, finish. Now it's going out. It's actually creating a whole bunch of code. It's creating an XSD file. It's putting that in the project.
There it is.
And yeah, if I highlight the XSD file in my project, I could actually open that up. No.
Do you guys want to see the XSD file?
Yeah.
Let's see the XSD file.
Okay.
Scott's going to kill me.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay,
wow. Look at that. We have relationships defined. And
right, and I can right-click on here, look at properties on it. I can actually preview data. This is another way to look at the data in your data set. If I do preview, this is read-only, but
Very
I can
cool.
look at the data in the orders table. I can look at it in the customers table. And
that's excellent.
it's just cool. And you can actually build relations. You can add more relations. You can add more tables to this data set. There's a lot of cool things going on here. But that's not what I was here to show you there. Okay. Okay, I'm on the data sources window. So here's the data sources window showing up on the left of the screen, up at the top. This looks pretty similar to what we saw in the Server Explorer, only this is a view on the data set. And it has icons next to the words or the tables that look like little controls. Like these look like little grid controls, and they actually are. If I drag and drop from the data source window onto the form, I actually get a data-bound grid on my form, fully connected. I'm all done.
Very
like
cool.
If I ran it
so that's
right
it.
now,
It would run. No code.
I would have, yeah, it would
We
run.
haven't written any code yet.
We haven't
right?
written any code yet. I don't know if I'm going to write any code. I'm going to write a SQL statement.
Put me out of a job.
Yeah. Okay, so we're still getting close. Now, remember what I said was I wanted to create this parameterized form. I want to be able to just filter on a specific column and have it just show me the rows that contain the value that I specify. And I can do that pretty quickly. I don't know if you can all see it, but there's this really little bitty smart tag action button, whatever you want to call it, up here in the upper right-hand corner. If I click on that and then click parameterized data source, it's going to do all this for me. But there's a couple other options here as well. There is configure master details form. There's also this thing called generate data form. And I'm going to go into those things also in my talk on Friday. So we can look at those more later. Parameterized data source, though. Here we go. By clicking that, I bring up this builder dialog that allows me to create the query that I care about.
Okay.
And it already pre-populates with a select statement that's just selecting all of the columns from this particular table. And I just want to add a where clause that's going to say, OK, where city equals a parameter called @city.
Okay.
Sound OK? And here's me coding again. Does this count as coding?
I think this counts as coding.
OK. Whew. Twice in one session. Where? OK. No IntelliSense here, though. This is going to be really hard.
Ooh, that would be nice, wouldn't it, to have IntelliSense?
I think you actually get that in
your
UConn.
SQL building?
I think
You do?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's so awesome. OK. So where city equals @city. That's all I had to write.
Okay.
And then, yes, exactly. OK.
Wow.
I click OK. What this now does is adds a bunch more code to my project, adds this panel control to my project, and then also a fill by button, which if I click on that button, it's going to go and grab all the rows of data that match whatever I put into city. And before I do that, though, I want to just do one other thing. That docking feature, I'm going to go back to that and just dock that to the top, because we're going to build and then we're going to run this solution. But rather than run it on the device that locks up all the time,
Okay.
I'm going to run it on the emulator that better not lock up all the time.
Ooh.
Okay.
So is this the brand new emulator?
So this is the brand new emulator.
This is the new emulator. For folks who have not heard about the brand new emulator, the brand new emulator actually runs ARM code. It is a full fidelity ARM processor emulator. You can actually take a piece of ARM code off of a Pocket PC, drag it into the emulator, click it, and it'll run.
And I've done that. I didn't write the code, though.
really cool. New emulator.
Okay, so this is the new emulator, and it actually has some other cool features besides just being able to run ARM code. As cool as that is, let's see. One thing it'll do is, let's do this. Let's just go to the configuration tab. Let's click on display. Let's hit zoom so everybody can see.
All right.
Okay. Uh-oh. Now I think
maybe a little big.
Well, we'll just switch it to landscape. How
Okay.
about that?
Oh, so the emulator. Okay, this is what you said earlier. Oh, beautiful.
Look at that. So now, so what you actually saw right there was the emulator, we'll call it the engine, recognizing what's going on in the image and adapting appropriately. It would be like you're taking your Pocket PC and you're saying, okay, I want to go this to landscape, and then you actually have to physically switch the device. That's the physical part of it, doing it. Maybe that's obvious, but it's just really cool that both things are happening in sequence and synchronized. Okay, now I'm going to close the settings and another Julia Childs. Here's this application running.
Okay.
It's the exact same thing that we had earlier, or that we created earlier. And if I filter, tell me a city in northwest Oregon.
Is Bend in northwest Oregon?
No. Portland is north.
Oh, Portland.
Oh, okay. I guess we'll just do this.
All right.
And that's the fill by button. I just clicked the fill by button, and it takes a little bit for the first time, but there's two rows. Okay, now tell me a city in England that's like a capital of the country or something. Okay.
All right, let's give that a try. Oh, beautiful. That's really fast.
Yeah, see, it was a lot faster. And then, is Madrid the capital of Spain? Okay, tell me the, oops. Okay, so I think I've made my point here.
That's great.
It's really cool. What we've done here is we've shown you some things that in the current version of our products, while you can do them and it's super powerful, would take you, a couple of days of going and finding samples that are great. We have great samples up on got.net, but it would take you a couple of days of learning the samples, pulling them down, modifying for your code, and making them work. We did all that in, what, 5 minutes? Well,
yeah, that was pretty fast.
So very, very powerful stuff. It's a lot of fun to play with. I really, if you can pick up the beta versions of our product, they'll be out in a couple of months, maybe a month or so.
Or the tech preview right now.
Tech preview right now, you can do a lot of this.
Yeah.
And if you have questions on it, please come up and ask us afterwards. With that, I'm going to turn the time back over to Seth.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Scott.
Yep, thank you.
There's so much cool stuff that we're going to be able to do in Visual Studio 2005. It's sort of hard to wait for it to come out. All that cool data stuff is, it's just pretty killer for folks who have had to program against the SQL Server CE database today. Having all that available in the IDE is just such a productivity enhancement. It's going to be incredible. So we talked a lot about the fundamentals of Compact Framework v2. We talked about the execution engine and our new JIT architecture. We talked about the interoperability components that we're doing for COM and for pinvoke. And we talked about the GUI. We talked about WinForms and all the cool new controls like the web browser that just work. They're great. So what about the rest of the product? There's so much more Compact Framework. It doesn't even seem compact. There's, I could probably go on for another couple hours here. We've actually added a whole bunch of new features in the networking and web services area. Just out of curiosity, has anybody used MSMQ either on the desktop or on Windows CE devices before? People have tried? All right. Well, we're going to make it so much easier to use MSMQ because Compact Framework is now going to support system.messaging. This is the managed interface to MSMQ on Windows CE. This is so cool in combination with another feature that I'm going to talk about in maybe a slide or so, because these queues really help you design an application that doesn't get affected by transient connectivity. What you can do is submit items to this queue that will be serviced when connectivity is available, rather than having to try to deal with connection management all yourself. So you're going to be able to submit items to these queues, which could maybe even get serviced on different radios. You could maybe have a queue that you would get serviced on 802.11 if it's available. Maybe have one on GPRS. So you can put different priority items in different queues, and given connectivity, they'll get serviced. So you don't have to worry about your app locking up when connectivity state changes. So that's MSMQ. It's a really cool feature. I'm expecting that we're going to see a lot of cool apps use that. Web services, a huge performance boost from our new, faster XML serializer, and support for the SOAP 1.2 standard is now included. As far as authenticating your HTTP and web service requests, we now have Kerberos and NTLM authentication out of the box for Compact Framework, which is great. And in fact, we automatically will select the most secure way to pass your network credentials to the server. And what this means is you can actually upgrade the credentials that your server requires. You could basically go from digest or basic up to NTLM on the server without having to redeploy client code to all of your devices. We will auto-negotiate the most secure authentication mechanism for you that's available on your server. On top of all of this, we added full IPv6 support to the Compact Framework. So a little bit more on the system.messaging. As you can see, you use this local queue to talk to a server queue. MSMQ is available on all the Windows Server platforms, and I think it's on XP as well. You can install it from add Windows components if you want to play around with it. The other cool thing about it is you can use a local queue on your device to communicate between two .NET Compact Framework processes or app domains, which is something that you previously could not do. So you can now talk between app domains by going through this message queue. So in XML, this is a super often requested feature, and we've got it in 2.0. That is XML serialization. So you can now take any object and deflate it into XML and reinflate it later. Now, the cool thing is you can now use this in conjunction with the message queue and take objects, pass them between app domains, between processes, and between your Compact Framework device and the server. Since it uses XML serialization as opposed to the binary runtime serializer or the SOAP runtime serializer, we don't have the brittle fragility of exposing the private internal fields in the XML. Since it's based only on public contracts, and that's the way that the XML serializer works, you can take an object from server to device and vice versa and round trip them using XML serialization. That in conjunction with MSMQ is just super, super cool. We added schema support for XML. So you can now validate against schemas or generate schemas programmatically on the fly. And one of the cool things that we didn't have time to show in Scott's demo is the XSD schema designer in Visual Studio now works for the Compact Framework. So I can create an XSD schema in Visual Studio and have VS generate a strongly typed proxy class so I can program against that schema at design time. It's super, super cool. We have included all the XPath 1.0 specification, so you can now do XPath queries against your documents, which is pretty cool. Scott showed a whole bunch of the powerful data features that we have, the data designer and the data connector in VS 2005. SQL Server version 3.0 is also going to be included in the Windows Mobile releases that feature Compact Framework v2. One of the coolest things that's going to be around in SQL CE 3.0 is the SQL CE result set. And what the SQL CE result set is it's a strongly typed, updatable, scrollable cursor view on your data. And what this means is basically you don't have to mirror your SQL Server data in a data set. So you have two copies of your data today if you have a SQL CE database in a data set. So a lot of times you'll query so you don't have to bring all of your data into managed code and have a second representation. What this SQL CE result set does is allow you to, in a strongly typed manner, work with that SQL CE data without having to have a copy of it. We did a demonstration yesterday at the general session that was done by Kevin Collins where we built a pinpointer against the global address list of Microsoft, which is about 60,000 names. And what you do is you basically, and there's like 10 columns across, 50,000 long in SQL CE. And we had a text box, and you entered the characters that you were searching for, and we would whittle down the list sort of on the fly as you typed each character. With the data set, whittling down Kevin Collins' name took around 3 seconds, and with the typed SQL CE result set, it took 0.7. And it used less memory, because you didn't have a second copy of that data. So the SQL CE type result set is super fast. And really, the data set at 3 seconds for 50,000 records is pretty fast as well. So very cool. Other SQL CE 3.0 features are Multi-user and multi-connection support. It used to be that you could only have one connection to a database at a time. That's no longer the case. You can connect multiply to a single database. And we've added a whole bunch of ADO.NET framework features to the Compact framework to basically keep us in lockstep with the ADO.NET framework programming model on the full framework. Other class libraries, well, Serial Port has been just longly been a super customer request from us. We have heard about Serial Port from the day we released the first version. Where's the Serial Port? Well, we have Serial Port support in Compact Framework v2. And in fact, the desktop, the full framework, has Serial Port support as well. We share the same API, as you would expect. So you can go ahead and use your Serial Ports on the Compact Framework for machine control or whatever you're going to do with your Windows CE or Windows Mobile devices. Along with generics, we've added support for the generic collections that you want to use as well. So your generic hash tables and your generic array lists are all going to be in the Compact framework so that you can strongly type these collections in your application without having to write any generics classes yourself. You can just use existing ones. And sort of last but not least for class libraries is we added the cryptography APIs. The crypto APIs were accessible, though difficult, in Compact Framework in v1 due to some of our our limited native code interoperability. Now it may be easier to deal with the CAPI API, but we don't even ask you to do that because we have full managed crypto support. So you can now encrypt your messages of XML that are deflated objects using the XML serializer before you put them in the MSMQ to send them up to the server securely over HTTPS using IPv6 and take it all out, reinflate it, do your data work on it, stick it back over the channel. I mean, this is really cool. This is really cool stuff. So in summary, the call to action is, of course, develop right now. Use Visual Studio.NET 2003. Install the 2003 SDK for Pocket PC and smartphone, and just party on. Just develop awesome device applications. But continue to give us feedback in the news groups. You know what we're doing in version 2. What are we missing? What have we forgotten? What features are we still not up to par with what your expectations are? Continue to talk to us. Ask us questions afterwards. Come to the Cabana session. Send us email. Post to the news groups. We're definitely listening. We're delivering these fantastic productivity enhancements. All these new class libraries, all these new designer tools. We're enabling all these new scenarios, and we're just excited to see the applications that they get used in. So before I go, I wanted to briefly mention a couple of other things. The Compact Framework team does have a booth on the floor, so if you have additional questions later, you can go ask. You can go pick up the .NET Compact Framework Starter Kit CDs, as well as the latest community technical drops that are available. We have those CDs there. If you haven't seen the Compact Framework Starter Kit, it's a CD-ROM with a whole bunch of cool documentation, samples, the FAQ, SDKs, all on that CD. So you don't need anything other than that CD. With that in your laptop on the airplane ride home, you could develop an application, no problem. Number 2, Windows Mobile hats. I see a few of them in this session, but I'm sort of disappointed that I don't see more. The Windows Mobile booth down on the floor is going to be giving away something like 10 Motorola MPX200s to people wearing those hats. What they're going to do is look for people wearing, yeah, put that hat on. How do you know I'm not the one giving away the phones? I could have them all underneath here. Oh, I see all the hats are going on now. So get your Windows Mobile hat from the booth, put it on, wear it. You might be able to win a phone. Right after this session, maybe half an hour, in Cabana number 7, we're going to be talking about this session. So if you have further questions, come on over, talk to myself, talk to Scott, talk to Scott Holden, the development manager for the Compact Framework. We're going to have a whole bunch of people there to answer your questions. Speaking of Scott, both of our Scotts, Scott Smith and Scott Holden, have talks. Scott Holden has a performance talk. It's MBL 340, Wednesday at 2 p.m. in this very room. He's going to be talking about .NET Compact Framework performance, tips and tricks, really understand the guts of the machinery. If you want to know how to get the most performance out of your applications, that talk is a must. And Scott Smith is going to have a Visual Studio 2005 for Devices talk, which is MBL 332, Friday at 9 a.m. And he's going to show you a whole bunch more cool stuff about Visual Studio 2005, all the cool new features of the tool as it relates to devices. Hopefully you'll see the cool things like code snippets, which are just awesome. There's so much stuff I can't even mention it. What's the method extraction thing? Where you can highlight a block of code that's repeatedly used, and it'll take it and it'll throw it in a method, and it'll automatically parameterize it for you and stick the call back in where you used it. It's so cool. So go take a look at these sessions. Come talk to us in the cabana. If you have any questions, please step up to the microphones and ask away. Thanks.